This is the bizarre, tragic story of the Great Boston Molasses Disaster of 1919. It was January 15, 1919, in Boston's North End. World War I was over, but the demand for industrial alcohol, refined from molasses and used in munitions, had led to an enormous, towering storage tank owned by the Purity Distilling Company. And this tank, my friends, was a disaster waiting to happen. The tank was massive, 50 feet tall, 90 feet across, capable of holding 2.5 million gallons of thick, brown syrup. But it was built fast and cheap. Oversight was handled by a financial advisor with no technical experience, who rushed construction to meet a shipping deadline. No proper safety tests were done. They didn't even fill it with water to check for leaks. And almost immediately, it began to groan and leak. Local residents knew something was wrong. Children would bring buckets to collect the leaking syrup from the rivets. Company employees warned management it was structurally unsound, but the bosses at U.S. Industrial Alcohol simply had it repainted brown to hide the leaks. The rupture. On that fateful January day, Boston was experiencing a strange January thaw, with temperatures rising quickly after a cold spell. This warmth caused the newly delivered molasses inside the tank to ferment rapidly, producing huge amounts of CO2 gas. Because the tank's vent was closed for winter, the pressure built to a critical level. Around 12:30 p.m., witnesses heard a sound like a machine gun, the sound of the tank's rivets shearing off. Then, with a deafening roar, the structure disintegrated, releasing 2.3 million gallons of molasses. A wave of molasses, 25 feet high, slammed into Commercial Street, traveling at a staggering 35 miles per hour. It was a force of nature. It lifted a railway trestle off its supports, and the nearby Engine 13 firehouse was picked up and carried toward the harbor. Buildings were crushed like eggs. In the chaos, people were drowned, crushed, and trapped in the thick, sticky current. It took the quick action of sailors from a nearby Navy training ship, the USS Nantucket, to start the dangerous rescue efforts. By the time the disaster was over, 21 people were dead and 150 were injured. The lawsuit and the change. The cleanup took weeks and tens of thousands of man-hours, but the biggest struggle was in the courtroom. The company, in a desperate move to avoid accountability, actually tried to blame the disaster on Italian anarchists using explosives. But a massive class action lawsuit proved otherwise. After years of testimony, the final ruling determined the cause was simple and unforgivable: structural failure. The company had cut corners, ignored safety, and put profit before lives. The ruling forced the company to pay substantial damages. More importantly, the Boston Molasses Disaster became a landmark case that established a new standard for corporate accountability. It was the catalyst for laws requiring engineers to be certified and for all construction to be properly reviewed and regulated. The tragedy of the molasses flood showed that carelessness, negligence, and greed can be just as deadly as any bomb. It is a strange footnote in history, but one that paved the way for the building codes that protect us all today. And so, the Boston Molasses Disaster of 1919 is a chapter of history that truly deserves to be remembered.